guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a new video, and it is a tag video. I was just talking the other day that I really love the old days of BookTube when we would do book tags, and so I did look and I did not see any tag like this. So it is an original tag I created with a bunch of questions for the historical romance reader book tag. This is all about you as a historical romance reader, some recs that you have, your preferences, and all that fun stuff. So I have 13 questions to ask you guys and for me to answer, so I hope you can do this video. Anybody who's a historical romance reader, I'm tagging to this video. I cannot wait to see people answering these questions. And I'm wearing my fabulous Fabio sweatshirt and I'm really excited to get to this, so I'll go ahead and get to the questions. The first question is, what was the first historical romance you ever read? I actually remember this, surprisingly, because I found it at Half Price Books like within the past year, and I read it in high school, and I just looked at it. I didn't remember the title of the book that I had read in high school, but I knew the plot. And I was looking at this book and read the back of the book, and I was like, this is the first historical romance I had ever read. So that is A Hint of Wicked by Jennifer Haymore. I think this is the only Jennifer Haymore book I've ever read. I have never picked up any more of her books. This, if I can open it, is what the stepback is. And in this one, all I remembered was that there was this woman who was married, and he went away somewhere and ended up never returning, so they thought he was dead. So she marries his brother or his best friend, and then he turns up and he's alive. So it's kind of like the One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, but historical romance. And this was one I picked up in high school from the library. I would go to the library like every week with my mom, and that was when I was reading more in the adult section, picking out books. Like I was reading a ton of paranormal romance adult books, and then I looked at this section with all the like hearts on the spines, and I was like, maybe I should try an adult historical romance. So I picked this up, and I vividly remember reading this as one of the first ones I've ever read in my bedroom. So this one I really want to reread. I think it'd be fun to do a reading vlog rereading this. I didn't really pick up though historicals until recently-ish, like within the past 5 years I've started reading historicals a lot more, and especially in the past like 2 years I have. I just really like this, but then I don't think I picked up that many more, and then I remember picking up an Eloisa James one when I was in college. But other than that, I think I did also read Elizabeth Hoyt, but then I didn't really start reading them until the past couple years, but this was one of the first ones I ever read. The next question is, what is the last historical romance you read? So this one I actually have two, because one I recently finished and then one I'm in the middle of. I just finished reading Much Ado About You by Eloisa James. This one is the Essex Sisters series. I listened to the audio. I'm actually reading these both for a specific reading vlog, so I'm not going to tell you too much about my thoughts, but I did really enjoy this one. Their father was really into horse racing and horse breeding, and so they know a lot about horses, and the sisters' dowries are all a horse, and their father passed away, so they were given into possession of this duke. Like he has like, he's in charge of them, and they live with him. He thought they were like children, then they showed up and they're all like in their 20s. They've been living in Scotland, and her father wanted them all to marry Englishmen, so then none of them had ever gotten married, and now they all want husbands. So this was a lot of fun. But I'm currently listening to While the Duke Was Sleeping by Sophie Jordan. I'm obsessed with this. I started it this morning on my run, and I've already gone through half of the audiobook because it's so good. It's inspired by While You Were Sleeping, which is a movie with Sandra Bullock, and it's amazing. So she is in love with this duke, but she ends up saving him from an accident. He's in a coma, and they mistakenly think she is engaged to him, and he has a Scottish brother who is like having some intense chemistry with her, but they also like hate each other, and it's so good so far. So these are the two last historical romances I've read. The next one is an underrated historical romance author that you wish more people read. So we all know Tessa Dare, we all know Beverly Jenkins, Sarah McLean, Sophie Jordan, all those popular authors. There is one author that I absolutely adored. I've only read one of her books, but I wish more people read her books, because I didn't hear about her until Lisa read her. That's Anna Harrington. One of my absolute favorite books is If the Duke Demands. This one was actually gifted to me by Charles from Books on Stereo, so thank you, Charles, for sending this to me. But I really wish more people were reading Anna Harrington. She has a lot of books out, and I just bought one from Half Price Books yesterday by her, and then I also have a new release of hers that the publisher sent me. I think she publishes with Forever, so I'm excited that I discovered her, and I want to read her entire backlist, but I don't see anybody talking about her. The only books I see people talking about is this book, so I need to read more of her, and I think a lot of other people should be picking up her books as well. The next question is, who is a historical romance author that you have not picked up yet, but you really need to? And so for this one, I have two. The first one is Donna Fletcher, and I think both of these I actually saw from Jen from the Book Refuge. So Donna Fletcher, this one, they are literally chained together in the entire book, and I think that Jen has said that she has really great like cinnamon roll heroes. So I really want to read Donna Fletcher, but I also really want to read Anne Mallory. I'm pretty sure Jen talked about this one, and I think there's like a lot of chemistry between them. I don't remember what she said about this one that she loved, but I remember hearing her talk about it, and I immediately bought it off the thrift books. So I really want to read these two historical romance authors, and I am really sad that I haven't yet. The next question is, what historical romance would you recommend to people who are new to the genre? I get this question all the time, and I'm gonna go with pretty much the obvious answer. I have two, one that's obvious and one that's a favorite that I think everyone should read. So the first obvious one is Tessa Dare. I think Tessa Dare is so readable. She's not intimidating. You read her books, they're fun. They read very much like contemporary in a historical setting. I know a lot of people get intimidated by historical romances because of the dialogue that's used, because of all the customs and the hierarchies and everything, all the verbs and like words that are custom to historical romances. This one though, they're just like really fun and fast to get through, and they're like rom-coms in historical time, and they read so easily. So I had recommended this to my sister as well, who wanted to get in historical romances. She's been reading Julia Quinn's series, but I think she read this first, and I just recommend this to everybody wanting to get into historical romances because it's not as intimidating and it's very easy to read. I would also recommend Jennifer Ashley because this is one of my favorite series ever, and these are all such great romances, just like the angst of the romances. If you like contemporary angsty romances, which are my favorite, you're gonna love the angsty romances and historicals that Jennifer Ashley has. And Ian is actually on the autism spectrum, which I absolutely loved in this book. Book 2 has a marriage in trouble. I think that was book 2. One of them is a marriage in trouble, yes. And then book 3, he's a single father. Book 4 is the oldest brother who is the Duke, and it's amazing. I love the first 4 books. I have to continue on. I read book 5 and I enjoyed it, but I miss our just 4 brothers that are in this series. So it's amazing. If you like the angst, Jennifer Ashley is a great place to start. The next one you're gonna hate me for, but it is your favorite historical romance of all time. So I have actually a video of all of my favorite historical romances of all time. I think it's like the top 10 I have, but I have 3 to answer for this. The 2 I've already talked about. I love If the Duke Demands. This one, he's a duke and he needs to find a wife. He feels very guilty for his playboy rakish ways because when he was a rake, his father was dying and he was too busy like with a woman and didn't get to see his father before he died. So now he took the title and he's like straight and narrow. I need to be good. I need to find a wife that's good. But the neighbor is actually in love with his brother and she wants to seduce his brother. She is like a farmer's daughter, so she's like not high class, and she goes to the bedroom of the brother, but it's actually the Duke's bedroom, and she tries to seduce him unknowingly because they're both wearing masks because there was a masquerade, and there's a little chemistry between them, and then they strike a bargain that she'll help him get a wife and he'll help her get his brother, but they fall in love instead. It's amazing. And then, like I said, Madness of Lordy and Mackenzie. Ian's amazing. Beth is a widow, which I loved. Love this one. And then another classic you guys all know I'll say is The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I really want to reread this. I haven't read it in a long time. She lost her love in childhood, so there was just someone that was just the love of her life, and then he ended up dying in order to save her, and so she is now declared herself a widow. She took his last name and she just said she's a widow, and she works as a secretary, I think, for the police. I'm pretty sure with her job, and then she gets taken by highwaymen, and it's great. I love this. These are some of my favorite historical romances. You could not expect me to pick one. Number 7, do you prefer old school or new school historical romances? So that means, do you prefer the ones from the 80s and the 90s? Bodice rippers, very, very different than what is written today. They are much more likely to have a little bit of problematic content in them. Not all of them do, some of them do. And they're just like your classic old school romances. Or do you like what's being published today? I love both, but I have to say, as you can see from my favorite historical romances of all time, I do actually like the ones that are published today a lot more. I feel like I have a lot more misses when I read old school historicals. I love them. There are some fantastic ones, like The Secret by Julie Garwood is one of my favorites, and that's an old school one, but I feel like you have to really dig through the old school historicals to find ones that you would like as a reader today. I know people loved them in the past, and that content was just seen as okay, but today as a contemporary reader, it's a lot harder to find in the old school the real gems. I haven't read too many old school ones though, so I do need to read more. I love reading old school, but I think I love the new ones better. The next one is, what are your favorite historical romance tropes? And for this one, I know I always argue with Lisa about this. I love the class difference trope, like with If the Duke Demands, there's the class difference in there, and I love that in the Bridgerton books. In Offer from a Gentleman in the Bridgerton books, I love that. I love when there's a class difference. That's what I'm reading now in Sophie Jordan's book, While the Duke Was Sleeping. There's normally, I think in all of them, it's the guy that is titled and the female is the one that is lower class, and I just love the drama that comes with that because it's actually realistic in the time period. Like, they literally cannot be together because of what society thinks of them. I do also like a widowed heroine. I really love how much more freedom that the heroine has. Like with Her Night with the Duke, she is a widow and she likes to travel and she has a lot more freedom and she doesn't need a man to settle down. Same as with this one. They can have a lover if they want to, and it's okay by society because they have already been married. So I really love the widow trope as well. Number 9, what is your favorite historical romance setting? And I think this is also popular. I love a good Highlander romance. I love it when it takes place in Scotland, a little bit away from the ton and like all the balls and like everything. Some of them do have that, but I do like it when they're like at the keep and they are like talking about the social structure of the keep. I love it when it is a laird and like the woman is like learning how to run a household in Scotland. It's a lot different than running it in England. I really do love a good Scottish romance. I do love the backdrop of Scotland, and a lot of times they like go on little trips because they like to take their horses places. I just love Scotland as the setting. I love a good English historical romance, but I think like we have that so often that I'm kind of like not as in love with it because I get it so often. So I do love a Scottish setting. I do not mind America anymore. So I used to be like, I don't really like American historicals, but Beverly Jenkins writes all of hers in America and I really love them. And Joanna Shoup also has the American backdrop as well in the city. So hers are in New York. So it's very much like in England, but it's in America and it's a little different. So I love those settings. The next question is, what is the oldest historical romance you own? And so for this one, I looked, and this is probably going to be everyone's answer if they collect this author. That is The Flame and the Flower. This one by Kathleen Woodiwiss is from 1972. And, oh, I didn't know. I don't know if this is her first published book or The Wolf and the Dove is, but this one's so old, and I don't know what the first actual edition looks like if this is the first edition, but this was $1.50 when it came out. So imagine only have to pay $1.50 for historical romances. That's amazing. But this I know is considered one of the first historical romances like of all time. So I do really want to read this. I do know that Kathleen Woodiwiss though does have a lot of consent things going on in her books that aren't the best. So I always get nervous trying to pick her books up. We are reading Shanna for my historical romance book club that I run with Samantha from Books with Samantha. It is called The Historical Hellions. I will link that down below. The Instagram if you are not aware that I run that, but Shanna is what we are reading I think in April, which I'm really excited for. But this one I know is just like the classic quintessential historical romance and I really want to read it soon, but it is the oldest one I own. According to the copyright page, this edition came out in 72, but sometimes they put like the original publication date and not the publication date of the actual edition it has, but this looks pretty old. The next one, if you love historical romance, you probably love a stepbacks. So what is your favorite stepback that you own? One of them that I absolutely adore, I bought for the stepback, is by Kat Martin. It is Night Secrets and it is a bathtub scene. And so Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers actually just posted 3 bathtub stepbacks that she has for Stepback Saturday on Instagram. It is a hashtag we use on Saturdays to share our favorite stepbacks. This one I bought because I saw it. I don't know what it is about a bathtub scene, but I absolutely love this. I love Kat Martin stepbacks. It has a ship on the front. I'm pretty sure it takes place at sea, which is one of my favorite tropes as well. I can't believe I missed that. One of my favorite tropes is a pirate romance. I don't even know how I didn't even mention that in that question. I love pirate romances. You guys know I love pirate romances. That is like my thing. So I do love pirate romances, but I'm excited to read this, but I did buy it for the stepback. And then another one, I'm cheating because it's the cover, but I just bought it and I want to show it off. And that is Spitfire by Sonia Birmingham. I've never heard of this author, but I kept on seeing this on Pinterest. I like to look at Pinterest for historical romance covers to use for different graphics on Instagram. And I kept on seeing this one. And so I finally figured out what book it was and I bought it. And it's so, so pretty. And I love it how it's matched with like the purple beautiful. I just love that illustration so much. So those are ones that I bought for the covers and that I love. The next question is, what are some historical romance releases that you are excited for? So the first one comes out actually tomorrow on Tuesday, and that is The Devil in Her Bed by Kerrigan Byrne. I'm pretty sure it's The Devil in Her Bed. I always confuse the series title and the book title. I'm starting this one today because I have an e-arc of it. I'm so excited. It is book 3 in the Devil You Know series, and it's about 3 best friends, so I'm pretty sure it's the last book in the series, but I'm really excited to read this because I love Kerrigan Byrne. I also cannot wait for book 2 to Her Night with the Duke. I'll put the cover here. It is like something with a Viscount. It is his friend, and I really loved it. I'm pretty sure it was his friend who was like accused of killing his family because all of his family was killed except for him, and they're like secretly, like everyone's whispering that he was the one who did it. He didn't, but I'm really, really excited for that one as well. Of course, I'm excited for Tessa Dare's new one, The Bride Bet. I don't know when we're gonna get it. It's been pushed back a lot, but I'm excited for that book as well. And my last question, number 13, is who do you follow for historical romance recommendations? I've already named dropped a ton of people. I'll leave a whole list down below of people that I love that I'm recommending do this tag as well. But we have Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers, Lisa from Remarkably Lisa, I get most of mine from them, Samantha from Books with Samantha, Jen from The Book Refuge, we have Jessin from Jessin Reads Romance, she reads a lot of historical romances as well, Meg from By the Book. I actually read Anna Harrington also because of her. I know Lisa recommended it to me, and then I saw Meg had read it and loved it, so then I picked it up. Meg also told me that Stacey Reed's newest book is fabulous and I need to read that. Riley from Riley Reads also reads some historicals. We have Dana from Dana Quadrado. I think I'm saying that correctly. I love Dana's channel as well. We have Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. I really love her recommendations as well. I feel like I'm forgetting a lot of people. Charles from Books on Stereo reads historicals, but I feel like he never likes what I like. He really is brutal with some of the books that he reads. But if I have any other recommendations, I will link them down below. I will also leave some Instagram people I follow if you're more on that platform. Make sure you check out all of the booktubers and bookstagrammers that I recommend to follow for loving historical romances. And that is all for this video. Let me know what your answers are for these questions. I would absolutely love to hear, and let me know if you're going to do this tag, and tag me on social media if you do. I will create a whole playlist of people who do this tag, so check out the playlist as well if people have been doing this. But that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.